Today, Turbo Tortoise Tech gets to emulate its namesake and shows you the actual putting turbos in tortoises. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm recently 4-piece ride to your Wooks XXL, and I promised you that this was going to happen at some point, and we're finally here. Klevv Cras XR RGB. Hopefully this is going to be a new test bench RAM, because this 6200 megahertz kit, as I'll show you through this review, has unlocked the absolute maximum potential of performance from the 9800X3D, pretty much, with statistical evidence to back up their claim. Hashtag the difference between arrogance and confidence is proof. And we're going to do exactly that today. So the RAM itself has had a lot of memory timings being sharpened up on it. It's got a new Expo setting and a new XMP 2.0 setting, or 3.0 setting at least. So yeah, and it's fully compatible with all of the polychrome sinks, ARGBs, MSI Mystic lights, etc., etc. And on our X870-P over here with the 9800X3D, we've gotten another first position for Steel Nomad light in the world with the 3070 Ti. So yeah, it doth butter many parsnips. The RAM itself, I really like the heatsink in the way that it looks. The diffusing on the top is still not perfect, but it's acceptable, and it's still, I like the actual pattern of it, that little like oval kind of shape, which will be on your screens now. But the big plus with this, as I said, is they've really sharpened up the timings. Now 6000 megahertz CL30 is really the sweet spot, as we've identified over the tons of reviews and stuff on the 9800X3D. And this is not quite that, but a lot of those memory kits, they start off CL30, and then the next two read and write cycles, the next two read cycles, the row access time and the column access time, they go into the 40 ms. Whereas at 6200 megahertz, these are now doing CL38 on those ratings. So it starts off CL32, then it goes 38, 38, and then I believe it finishes on 74. But those two secondary timings for the access times for the column and the row, because RAM works on grid like XL. RAM is basically XL on steroids. I hate to break it to you, but that's the reality. And it's because of that, the latency plus the speed creates the overall latency picture. And what you're going to see with the test bench results, which we're just going to dive straight into because that's the real discussion point of here. Our test bench is currently 9800X3D, MSI X870-P. We've got a 2 terabyte SN570 Western Digital. It's all powered by an 850 watt gold, and our current test bench GPU, the ever so massive 3070 Ti Supreme X, pretty much the best manufactured GPU you can get these days are the Supreme X's. We've then got the LS520 Premium cooling it. Yes, my test bench is much cooler than yours. I have purposefully created that setup so that the cooler is always mounted vertically. So the high point is always away from the pump, because I've already killed an impeller with this test bench. By not doing that, that's how I killed it. So now we've fixed that, a bit of an oversight on that one. But now it's at max performance no matter what, and you're going to see with a little bit of a tweak here and there, I can even take it one step further. So let's get into the benchmark results. We're going to start off with Black Myth Wukong. On the original 5200 megahertz Adata XPG, which has CL38 and carries that timing through, we got 41 on the minimum, 53 on the average, and 63 on the max. Then if we move over to the new memory, we're getting 53 on the minimum, so same as the previous average, 65 on the average, and 75 on the max. That's a 29% increase on the minimum, 23% increase on the average, and a 19% increase on the maximum frame rate. Basically an overall average of 25%. And Unreal Engine 5 is one of the most circulated engines now. Things like Delta Force, Lords of Avium, there's a new Arc 2, etc., etc. It's becoming the new base engine for a lot of AAA gaming on consoles and on PC. So even the console games that are on PS5 and stuff that are going to be ported over, like Tekken 8 as a great example, those are all going to be in Unreal Engine 5. So you're talking 20 to 25% performance increase across the board for all those games. Color me interested. Then for older titles like Counter-Strike 2 at 1440p. We had 130 FPS on the minimum and 282 on the average, and we're seeing increase to 149 on the minimum and 305 on the average. That's a 15 to 8% performance increase. Very, very nice. The only one that didn't show performance increase, funnily enough, was Cyberpunk. We had a minimum of 88 to 89, 100 to 101, and 119 to 122. That can almost come down to environmental factors in of itself, and really I think it's GPU locked. It has been a lot hotter doing this series of testing, about 6 or 7 degrees Celsius on average, so that's even got to be added into the result. F123 minor increases 2 to 5% over there. Between them, it's still better. Mins, average, and maxes are overall still higher. Cinebench was an interesting one. Single core 1% worse, but multi-threading 10% improvement. That's a huge gap. And then by tweaking it a little bit further, by fiddling with Infinity Fabric, increasing that to 2100 megahertz from megatransfers from 2000, we get a 15% performance increase over the original figure of 19843 to 22898. Then if we look at Time Spy and Firestrike, you're going to see similar kind of just like marginal increases across the board, bigger on the CPU increases. And then for Steel Nomad, we went from being basically nowhere and then got the #1 score for this CPU and GPU combo. So in that respect, I'd have to say now that it's fully poked, this test bench. It's giving the best performance it possibly can, and it's largely thanks to having really good memory. Getting 5600 megahertz compared to this is going to be a 5 to 10% across the board. So if the price versus performance sort of difference is there, that it's only 10% more expensive, those gaps can widen to 20-25% in new AAA games, like everything that's being run on Unreal 5. Unreal 5 is going to be the new staple. Stalker 2, you name it. If you go and Google, the list for it is so long of games that have already been coming out from the end of 2023. Things like MechWarrior 5, as an example, was one of the first implementations for the new Unreal 5 engine, and it's getting more and more tweaked and better, where we get to games like Stalker 2 and Black Myth Wukong, where you're getting like exceptional sort of performance. So TLDR for this review, don't cheap out on RAM. If you're going to get a really high-end system, something like with a 9800 X3D, spend a little bit more, get at least something of this kind of quality. The big plus, like I said, with the Klevs is they've tightened up their timings compared to their previous gen, and now these are some of the best performing chips. These are on the SK Hynix buses, so you can Google for timings and then add those timings to make it even faster. But I think officially, we have put the turbo in the Tortoise over here. You can see with the data, I mean, it's just kind of incredible. The performance difference on new AAA gaming areas like the Unreal 5 engine. Anywho, that is all I have for you on the Klevv Cras XR5 RGB. If you have enjoyed this review, please hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.